Welcome back to another episode of Boom and Bust, your home for NFL Draft Talk. I'm your host, Terry. Today, draft is over. Doing a recap of the NFC West. Okay, so just a reminder, I'm not doing any grades. Don't like to give grades out before people play. Also, I don't know everybody's situation like that and stuff. So I'm going to just do my best to give an unbiased opinion and just really talk about the players that were drafted and kind of my thoughts on them. So let's get started first with the Arizona Cardinals. I think we got a lot to talk about here. Let's start with Josh Rosen. So the Cardinals do what people kind of thought, and they move up to get the quarterback after Carson Palmer walks and then Bruce Arians walks, off into retirement. You got a new coaching staff, new regime, and they've been kind of hurting for that next quarterback for a while. So then you make the move to get Josh Rosen, who I think is the best quarterback in the draft, hands down. For whatever reason, with his personality, people might have had him fall. But Cardinals, I think, make the right move to go up and get him because he's the most pro-ready, and he's the one that can step in day one. And I heard I don't remember his name, forgive me, but I heard the GM talking about it on the radio for whatever reason. Oh, I think he was on Mike and Mike. But yeah, he was just saying that Rosen, when he starts is up to him. How fast can he get in there and compete for that spot? But you got Sam Bradford, and healthy, you assume he's the starter. So Rosen, though, it typically goes that these quarterbacks get forced into action, and I expect that to happen with Rosen. But I don't think Rosen's gonna, get caught off guard or be a deer in the headlights. I think he'll be prepared for the opportunity, and I think him getting in there from day one, or, from Thursday to camp, he's going to really go hard because he's pissed off and he's competitive. People talk about his personality, which is fine, but people that question his level of the game are ridiculous. He's uber competitive to the point he told people he was pissed off that he was the fourth quarterback taken. On draft night, he didn't say, I'm so thankful. No, he said, I'm pissed off. I don't care where I went. I'm mad. I was the fourth one. And so he's competitive. So I think he's going to work. And I think this is a steal, if you could say that, in the top 10. I think he's going to be a franchise guy, and it's going to be real interesting. So then, second round, you pick up a weapon for him in Christian Kirk, who, for me, just had a lot of question marks as a receiver. I really didn't feel like he was that top receiver that a lot of people said he was. I just didn't see on tape him having to run complicated routes. I didn't see him in jump ball situations or, using his ball skills. But he's a hard worker. He's humble, and he has some speed and athleticism. So I don't think Texas A&M used him to his full potential. And I think it'll be interesting what the Cardinals do, because you got Larry coming back for another year. However, everybody else is gone. John Brown, Jerron Brown, all those people that are kind of course, Floyd has been gone. The people that have been a staple at receiver for a while, they're all gone. And Arians, he famously ripped them, not too long ago, before he ended up leaving. And so they're really rebuilding that receiving core. So Kirk, I think, is a natural slot. Hopefully you don't try to put him outside. I don't think he can win there. But we'll see what that does. But I think that's a good weapon for Rosen. And I think they could easily develop a relationship early on and become, his go-to target. Then you get Mason Cole in the third. That was earlier than I thought Mason Cole would go. But he's versatile. Played left tackle for Michigan. Big Ten football. I like Big Ten linemen. People said he could be a center, and so he really is going to end up providing you 5-position versatility. But interior is where they want him, and we know the Cardinals' O-line hasn't been the most stable over the years. Now, I loved Dorian Johnson last year from Pitt, and I would hope to see him really prosper this year in his second year. So interesting to see what he does. But Mason Cole's a solid pick, little higher than I expected, but definitely not mad at it at all. Chase Edmonds, don't really know much about him. Chris Campbell out of Penn State, 6th round is about what you figure. Big corner. I think he's a safety, to be honest with you. And this is one of the reasons I don't like drafts, because coaches change so much every year, and what we know about the Cardinals in the past won't necessarily be what the Cardinals are now. So that whole way they use their defense and safeties and linebackers and intertwine is going to be different. And so I don't know exactly how everybody fits, but I will say Campbell's a big physical corner, limited athletically. So I always thought he tackled well, and I thought he's, like I said, real physical at press. So I always thought they might move him to strong safety. And then you get Corey Cunningham out of Cincinnati, who in the 7th round is more of a project swing tackle. So again, addressing the O-line kinda, not with premium picks like you would probably want, but Josh Rosen is the big name here. And looking at the Cardinals draft, I think is pretty solid for what you gave up and still being able to put some pieces in place. So then we go over to the LA Rams. It's still weird saying that, but LA Rams, and you already know if you follow the Rams that their moves were in the off season, not in the, but pre-draft, if you want to say that, because you pick up Marcus Peters, troubled but talented corner. You pick up Aqib Talib, veteran, troubled, talented corner. You get 2 press guys that Wade Phillips is familiar with. He's familiar with Talib, but you get 2 press corners that Wade Phillips is familiar with that type of style. And then you pick up Brandon Cooks from the Patriots after Sammy Watkins ends up walking, but you still got Cooper Kupp and all that. So some people are talking about, counting them as draft. No, I'm not. We're not going to sit here and count that as part of their draft. But that, that explains their first pick is in the 3rd round. So then, just looking at this roster, you got Senior Bowl special, to be honest with you. A lot of guys that didn't have a lot of tape, but I saw in the Senior Bowl, a lot of O-linemen. So you look at Joseph Noteboom from TCU, right tackle. You look at Brian Allen, Michigan State, and then you look at Jamil Demby from Maine. So you get 3 guys that are really, I think, pretty solid offensive linemen, but weren't really highly rated. So again, Noteboom was able to go to the Senior Bowl and show and put on display that he could potentially have a life at right tackle. Some people still think he's an interior guy, but I think he ended up holding up pretty well. And that's the same thing from Demby, who from Maine, who actually played left tackle at the Senior Bowl and is a tackle by trade, but people see him as a guard. So Demby actually impressed me the most at the Senior Bowl. So to get him in the 6th round and to move him to guard, I think is good because he showed that he has good feet and he definitely has the wide body and strength to play inside. But I think he's going to give you more pass protection than you might have expected. And then Brian Allen, Michigan State. I mean, you talk about, again, Big Ten linemen. Those guys are usually pretty solid. I really like Brian Allen. So 4th round is a good, place for him to go. Centers just don't have super high versatility, especially if you don't think they're 5 position players and whatnot. So, 4th round is pretty good for Brian Allen, and the Rams really showed a commitment to adding competition and depth to that O-line as they want to not only protect Goff, but they want to create lanes for Gurley to run through. So I really like those pickups. And then you look at what they did on defense, a lot of athletes. I mean, guys that can get after it. You got John Franklin Myers, Stephen F. Austin, which is a real small school. But again, you get a guy with a motor, that you want to put in on that defense under Wade Phillips and those veterans and hopefully get the best out of him. Then you go down the line, you talk about Sebastian Joseph out of Rutgers, and then, Trayvon Young out of, Louisville. And even to an extent, I'm sorry, I forgot all these picks. Trayvon Howard, TCU, Justin Lawler, SMU. And Justin Lawler had super hype coming into the draft, or at least coming into the season. And, people thought he'd be better than he was. and ended up falling to the 7th round. Tape, I watched him a little bit. I didn't see what everybody was talking about. So a lot of guys that you want to put into the fold. Again, about adding competition. You talk about rosters that are playoff ready and that don't have a lot of holes. You want to bring in competition and add depth. So I like all these young guys that you get that you would assume could fly to the ball and really get in the veteran presence of some of these other players and get on board. Now, you don't have Robert Quinn and so Alec Ogletree. So there is some spots in the linebacker core that are open. And I think some of these guys, I don't think any of these guys will start, but again, it's about adding depth because you did lose some pieces. Then we go back to John Kelly from Tennessee, and Mike Kaiser. I forgot, I skipped Mike Kaiser and Obo. How did I miss all these guys? So Kelly, Kaiser, Obo are 3 guys that my friend really, really likes, really high on them. And then funny enough, he's a Rams fan, so he ended up getting all 3 of them. Kaiser, I think, is just a slow 2-down linebacker thumper. Don't think he brings any coverage ability. Not shocked he fell to the 5th. And then Obo, I don't think he's long enough to survive on the edge. I know that's what he played and that's what he knows, but I think you have to move him to a stack backer. You have to move him to a stack backer and then use him occasionally in blitz situations, or, you know, when you're doing one of those all-out blitz looks and so people don't know who's coming, or you mugging the double A gap. I think he could work in there, but I don't think straight up as a full-time rusher he can survive. I mean, we've seen these guys, D Ford. I mean, you saw Ewan Price last year with the Rams. There's a number of guys, these shorter guys that people think they can still stay on the edge in the league, and you just can't. I don't believe he can. I think he has a good first step. I think he's super stiff, and he's got good hands, but yeah, I just think you got to move him to a stack backer and just let him be an occasional pass rusher. And then John Kelly out of Tennessee, decent pick in the 6th round. Not going to set the world on fire. So yeah, I mean, the Rams draft is kind of all over the place. Got a lot of late round picks, so you don't expect a lot of starters. But again, their big pickup was in the offseason. 49ers. Oh my God. I mean, let me be quite honest. McGlinchey's just personal for me. It's not really about the 49ers. It's about, I've been talking about Mike McGlinchey as the top tackle, but also a top tier talent. And a lot of people in the media just saying, like ridiculous things like 30 and 32 second round, talking about, some of these other tackles going before him. And I'm like, what tape are you watching? Mike McGlinchey is the best tackle, hands down. Now, there's some people saying he can't pass protect. Look at his quarterback this year. Don't give me he can't pass protect. He had trouble with speed rushers. Look at Orlando Brown. Look at Tyler Crosby. Look at any of these other tackles besides Connor Williams and tell me that you see trouble with speed. McGlinchey was fine. I think he's just as good as Quinn Nelson, and picking him up at number 9 was guts, but I think the value is there. And I think he eventually could play left tackle, even though everybody tells you he's only a right tackle. I think eventually he can move over to the left side. He's 6'8". He's going to cover up guys in the pass game, and he naturally is a good run blocker. So be excited about him. Dante Pettis going 2nd round, a lot higher than I expected. But I like Pettis. He's a possession receiver. Again, San Francisco saw that Jimmy Garoppolo not only can play, but he can elevate his receivers. And so you got a group that is very void of talent. And so bringing in guys at any spot really is going to help. And I think Dante Pettis is a nice little outlet for Jimmy Graham. Or I keep calling him Jimmy Graham. I just want to say Jimmy G. So I think Pettis comes as a nice outlet for Jimmy G and really will step in. Again, a little earlier than I thought, especially with receivers. It's kind of pick your flavor. He wasn't my favorite flavor. But again, I think 49ers get a nice pickup with him. Fred Warner, they put him at outside linebacker, and I know they're in the even front now, so I don't know. Fred Warner, let's talk about moving him to safety. He played pretty much a dog safety. He was always in the nickel, if you will. And so it'd be interesting to see if they use him as a nickel defender or if they play him as a hybrid, which I think it might be the case, which is fine because I think that adds versatility. You think about kind of what Minka Fitzpatrick did for Bama. That's kind of how I see Fred Warner bringing in. But even at Senior Bowl, though, he showed he could play in the stack and he could actually play. So I like that pick in the third round. Not mad at that. Tavarius Moore, a lot of buzz I heard about him. I'm not familiar with his tape, but a lot of buzz I heard about him as far as an athlete. So smaller school, but we've seen people from that school have success before. And then you get Street in the fourth round. Now he's kind of the one left out of NC State. You look at Justin Jones and BJ Hill, which kind of crazy they went as high as they did. And then, of course, Bradley Chubb. Street is the one that gets left off. I didn't think he was that great of an edge rusher. I wouldn't spend a fourth round pick on him. But the 49ers obviously like what they saw. And, you know, those kind of try hard, high motor, good first step DNs or edge people. In the past, the 49ers have shown real interest in it. This is a new regime, but this actually kind of fits the mold of those players in the past that you've seen them take chances on. Then we go down to the later rounds. Got a number of guys, DJ Reed, Marcel Harris, both in the secondary. Then you get Julian Taylor out of Temple. And then Richie James out of Middle Tennessee, who I think made his name in the what do they call them? The All-Star games for the seniors. That really kind of turned his head. Still a 7th round pick, but they taking a flyer on him. And so looking at the 49ers draft, a number of players, I think a pretty decent haul. I mean, once you get Jimmy Garoppolo, you kind of are in a space where everything else is a luxury and you're just really trying to build the best team around him. Now, they didn't go multiple receivers. They didn't go tight end to really give him a lot of options. It was frankly more defense than I had thought it would be. But overall, not going to, knock the 49ers draft. And then lastly, we got the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not going to mix words. This draft is all over the place. I will say Rashad, sorry. One of my best fits for Rashad Penny was the Seattle Seahawks. And I thought Penny was one of the better backs. Of course, Saquon's number one, but I like Penny over Geis. I like Ronald Jones over Geis too, but I like Penny as my number 2. So I'm not mad at him going, in the first round, especially at the back of the first round, trading back. Not mad at all. I think he's I wouldn't say straight zone run. I think he's versatile, but I think zone is best for him. So not mad at that pick. Then you get Rasheem Green. And they list him at DN, so I think he's a 3 tech. People are talking about Michael Bennett and all that. Rasheem Green does not bend around the edge like Michael Bennett. Rasheem Green does not play the run like Michael Bennett. He gets blown off the ball. If you are talking about Michael Bennett and you go watch Rasheem Green's tape, you're going to be sorely disappointed. I thought he was more of a project, but I do think with his long arms, with his first step, his athleticism, he'd be a good 3 tech. I would hope they move him and try to replace Sheldon Richardson with him. But if they're trying to put him on the edge, I think it's going to be a tough road. Then Will Dissly in the 4th round. Some people thought he'd be undrafted. They call him the best blocking tight end. Some people call him a glorified tackle. Big boy blocker, not much in the pass game. 4th round, a little high for me. Shaquem Griffin, we could talk all day. I mean, that's the number 1 pick right there. We don't really got to talk about the football part. We'll see how it shakes out with him at the next level, but everything he was able to go through and then end up with his brother in Seattle. There's some great videos out there that I'm talking about it. Yeah, it's a special moment. The Seahawks was real. I think it was a cool move for them. And I still think Shaquem will be a number one special teams ace. I think he could be like one of the best special teamers out there. As far as on the field defensive player, hard for me to sit here and really project that. It's hard for me to say a guy one hand can affect the game the way he did at the college level, but hey, we'll see. And then Trey Flowers, Oklahoma State, not that familiar with him. We get a punter. Seahawks really just remind me like a fake Patriots, but Jamarco Jones, oh my God, 5th round. Some people saying 1st round. Yeah, he's a project. And the Seahawks, it baffles me how much they ignore offensive line. Like, after seeing what they put Russell Wilson through and to continually not get established, well-techniqued offensive linemen, it baffles me. I'm forgetting the guy's last name, or the guy's name from last year, out of LSU. I like that pick because he's 5 position versatile. And I think he's going to be decent, but man, the rest of these guys, it's tough. I mean, you got Dwayne Brown, so he's a veteran. And Jamarco Jones, yeah, it's going to be a long road for him to end up making it. And I know he has super long arms, but he might be best as a guard. And he's athletic, so in your zone scheme, maybe you put him at guard and he could work. But as a tackle, I'd be scared to put him out there. And then, these are just real Seahawks picks the rest of the way. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on the NFC West draft. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about your team's draft. What are you expecting? Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, get the convo started. And thank you for listening.